Something is stirring in the spirit realm right now. You've felt it, haven't you? That strange unrest in your soul, like the air around you has thickened, like your name has been spoken in unseen places. The veil between heaven and earth is thin, and the Most High is moving. God is about to reveal something to you, something mighty, something divine, something that will shake the very foundation of the battles you've been fighting. Because this is not just another storm, this is the moment where His protection will be seen, not heard, not imagined. Seen, tangible, undeniable. You are the proof. You're not here by accident. Your eyes are on this message because heaven orchestrated it. This is a prophetic summons. There are certain moments in time when God speaks so loudly that even the deaf in the spirit begin to hear. And right now, He is shouting over your life. They thought you were vulnerable, but I have hidden you in plain sight. You were never exposed. You were covered. You were marked. You were chosen. Some of you have been wondering why the warfare has intensified, why the tension in your spirit has grown thicker by the day, why your sleep is restless, why your surroundings feel unfamiliar, even though nothing around you has changed. That's not anxiety. That's your spirit preparing for divine exposure. When God makes visible what He's been doing in secret, when He unveils His protection like a holy shield around your life. And those who thought you were weak will tremble, because you're not standing alone. You were chosen for battle, not because you are the strongest, but because you were the most obedient. And in this hour, God does not need the loudest. He needs the clearest. The ones who can hear Him through the noise. You've been trained in silence. You've been sharpened in obscurity. They didn't see the fire you walked through. They don't know how many times you almost gave up, but God knows. He recorded every tear. He counted every wound, and He's about to use them as evidence. Listen closely. The enemy has launched everything he could against you, not because you're weak, but because you're dangerous. Your very existence is a threat to darkness. Your voice breaks chains. Your presence carries light. That's why it felt like hell was hunting you. But what hell forgot is that you were wrapped in glory, sealed by the hand of the Almighty, hidden under His wings like precious treasure. You weren't denied. You were protected. They couldn't find you because God didn't allow them access. Doors didn't open because He didn't want you to walk through traps dressed as opportunity. That delay wasn't rejection, it was redirection. You wanted movement, but God gave you covering. You wanted action, but He gave you shelter. Because this wasn't the time for you to fight your way through. This was the time for you to be still and let Him surround you. There is a holy army standing around your life right now. Angels have taken position. Assignments have shifted in the heavenly realm. What should have broken you will now be used to elevate you. What should have ended you will now ignite you. God is about to reveal His protection, not just as comfort, but as a weapon. They looked at you and thought, they're all alone. But what they didn't see was the fire surrounding your camp at night, the whisper of the Spirit covering your mind, the invisible shield that deflected every arrow launched in secret. You weren't isolated, you were insulated. The pain you endured wasn't punishment, it was preservation. God kept you out of rooms you begged to enter because He saw the traps beneath the floors. He let them ignore your name because He knew they were planning your downfall behind smiles. And now, as He begins to lift the curtain, you'll see why it all had to happen the way it did. There is a revelation coming that will silence every lie spoken against you. A revelation that will expose just how fiercely heaven was guarding your every step. This is not just protection. This is divine strategy. You were placed in the shadow of the Almighty, not as a prisoner, but as a weapon in hiding. And now the time has come. The trumpet has sounded. The war in the Spirit has shifted. The hidden ones are being called forward. Can you feel it? That trembling in your spirit is not fear, it's alignment. Your spirit knows something is about to break open, something ancient, something sacred, something heaven held back until now. You didn't lose time, you were gaining strength. You didn't fall behind, you were being repositioned. God has not been silent, He's been securing you. And in this moment, you're standing on the threshold of a season where His protection over you will be seen with supernatural clarity. You'll walk into rooms and sense the shift. You'll speak and atmospheres will bow. You'll stand in places where you were once broken and feel nothing but peace. Because the one who kept you is now revealing you. The one who hid you is now releasing you. He's not just keeping you safe, He's making you untouchable. So don't second guess what you feel. Don't apologize for the favor about to fall on your life. Don't question the silence that led you here. Every quiet moment was a setup for this revealing. Every unanswered prayer was protection in disguise. Every detour was heaven's fingerprint over your destiny. You're not coming out the same. You're coming out seen. You're coming out sealed. You're coming out chosen. And what God is about to do next will leave no room for doubt. You were always covered. You were always His. They tried to bury you under the weight of impossibility. The doors didn't just close, they slammed in your face. You prayed, and the heavens felt like iron. You moved, and the ground beneath you crumbled. Every step felt like resistance, every effort a whisper of failure, and in the silence the enemy dared to speak. Where is your God now? But the enemy underestimated the depth of your covenant. He mistook your struggle for defeat. He thought that delay meant denial. He believed that if he surrounded you with enough pressure, you would crack. But here you are, bruised maybe, but still breathing. Stretched, yes, but still standing. And that alone is a declaration in the realm of the Spirit. You are not forsaken. You are fortified. God allowed the storm not to destroy you, but to expose His presence in the chaos. Just like Jesus, asleep on the boat while the winds howled and the waves roared, your storm was never a sign of God's absence. It was a setup for His glory. And while the winds screamed, God was speaking protection into the depths of your being. Not every rescue comes wrapped in comfort. Sometimes the rescue is the strength to endure what should have drowned you. You learned how to swim in water that was meant to take you under. You walked through fire without the smell of smoke clinging to your soul. You were surrounded by walls, but you found the cracks, and through them, light poured in. That light, it was Him. His protection was not always loud, but it was always near. Even when you questioned His silence, heaven was moving on your behalf. You see, protection doesn't always look like avoidance. Sometimes it looks like survival. You didn't avoid the pain, you overcame it. You didn't skip the wilderness, you found God in it. You didn't bypass the battle, you discovered who you were in the middle of it. And now, the very circumstances that tried to crush you are becoming the evidence that you were covered all along. Let me speak this clearly. You were not abandoned. You were anointed. An anointing often attracts attack, not because you are weak, but because you carry something the enemy cannot counterfeit. That's why the opposition rose. Not because you made a mistake, but because you carry oil. Oil that can't be purchased. Oil that only flows from crushing. And heaven knew that what you were being prepared for required a level of power that only pressure could produce. This is the moment where the shift begins. Not because the war ends, but because the warrior within you has been activated. The version of you that doubted is dying. The version of you that hid is fading. What's rising now is authority, divine authority, born of affliction and sealed in secret places, the kind of authority that cannot be imitated, the kind that walks into rooms and silences spirits without a word. God is about to use the same circumstances that looked like punishment as a platform for power. The same places where you were mocked will now become the stages of manifestation. The people who wrote you off will be unable to look away when God reveals His covering over your life. You are not stepping into favor, you are stepping into fulfillment. This isn't about luck, it's about prophecy. Every closed door was a move of precision. Every unanswered prayer was a divine reroute. Every delay was a spiritual barricade keeping you from counterfeit blessings. Because God's protection isn't just about safety, it's about sanctification. He wasn't just keeping you from danger, He was keeping you clean, preserved, uncontaminated by the things that looked good but carried death in their roots. And let's not forget the unseen battles, the attacks in the dream realm, the shadowy figures that tried to enter through the back doors of your mind, the sleepless nights, the sudden anxiety. That wasn't just emotional fatigue. That was spiritual warfare. You've been under surveillance from the pit, but guarded by angels. While demons observed, heaven surrounded, and not a single dart made it through without divine permission. That heaviness you couldn't explain? It was spiritual pressure, that sudden grief that came out of nowhere. It was your soul feeling the tremble of a shift. The enemy tried to make you believe you were losing your grip, but what you didn't see was the hand of God tightening around you, refusing to let go. The enemy planned your collapse, but God planned your comeback. They tried to lock you out, but they didn't realize that the key was never theirs to begin with. And now the atmosphere is beginning to shift. There's a break in the clouds. You may not see it fully yet, but your spirit senses it. A crack of light, a sliver of divine presence pushing through the fog. The same place you cried in will soon be the place you rise from. The same room where you thought you were forgotten will be filled with revelation and divine appointment. The same season that brought sorrow will produce strength, clarity, and supernatural covering. This is what God has been preparing. A moment where your surroundings don't define your spirit. A moment where His protection over your life becomes your weapon. A moment where what looked like a dead end becomes the place of resurrection. This battle is not meant to destroy you. It's meant to prove that the covering over your life is real. So don't rush out of this moment. Don't despise the pressing. Don't underestimate what's being built inside of you right now. God is revealing Himself as your fortress, not just in theory, not just in song, but in action. And the evidence will not be hidden. It will be obvious. Because when God protects, He doesn't just keep harm away. He transforms the harm into honor. He takes the weapon and turns it into a witness. He takes the fire and makes it your fragrance, and that's exactly what's happening now. The pressure was never random. The resistance was never meaningless. It was the echo of your calling. It was the sound of protection being enforced in real time. It was the groaning of creation preparing to see who you really are. And in a moment you least expect, God will pull back the curtain, and everything that tried to come for you will be stunned by what they see. Because the one they thought was fragile was being shielded by glory. You're not merely surviving, you're being revealed. They watched you walk away, and they thought they had won. They saw the silence you left behind and mistook it for surrender. But what they couldn't see was the roar rising in your spirit, the holy defiance born not out of pride, but out of purpose. You didn't walk away because you were weak. You walked away because God called you higher. You didn't retreat. You ascended. And now you've become unrecognizable to the ones who once thought they knew you. That was the final test, wasn't it? The moment when God whispered, "Let them go," and your heart hesitated. Not because you lacked the courage, but because you loved deeply. Still, you obeyed. You closed the chapter. You let the old version of yourself die quietly, without spectacle or applause. And in that secret surrender, something supernatural took place. Heaven marked you, and hell took notice. What they didn't realize is that your silence wasn't emptiness. It was sacred transition, a crossing over. The kind of holy movement that only happens when a soul has been refined by fire and is ready to carry weight it once couldn't bear. And now God is revealing what has been forming in the cocoon of your obedience. The hidden strength, the divine authority, the mantle they never saw coming. You see, God doesn't just protect to preserve, He protects to prepare. And now the version of you that's emerging is not the one that cried in the dark. It's the one that learned to war in prayer, the one who stood still when everything screamed, "Run," the one who walked away, not in defeat, but in discernment. You didn't leave empty, you left whole. And now heaven is echoing your name with thunder. There is a shifting in the realm of the Spirit that cannot be undone. Because you passed the test, you didn't retaliate, you didn't expose, you didn't return evil for evil. You walked away, clean, silent, sacred, and that decision unlocked something ancient. It unlocked the justice of God. It triggered the divine law that says, "Vengeance is mine." And now the scales are tilting. You are not the same. Not in how you think, not in how you speak, not in how you walk. You've become spiritually untraceable to the old attacks. What once tempted you now repulses you. What once distracted you now feels like noise. And those who once had access to you can no longer find the gate. Not because you built walls, but because God shifted your frequency. You're no longer living in the realm of survival. You've been moved into the realm of dominion. They thought they broke you, but they didn't know they were only breaking the shell. They thought they humiliated you, but they were really helping heaven hide you. They thought you were gone, but you were really going deeper. And now the rising has begun. You're stepping into a season where the glory on your life will speak before your mouth does, where the anointing will go before you and the Spirit will fight behind you. You are surrounded not by people, but by presence, not by applause, but by angels. You are covered, you are seen, and above all, you are becoming. This is the part of the story that heaven has been waiting for, the moment where your transformation becomes undeniable, the moment where even your enemies say, something is different. The moment when every attack that tried to destroy you becomes a footnote in a testimony that cannot be silenced. You didn't lose yourself in the fire. You found yourself. You remembered your power. You remembered your lineage. You remembered that you were never just a name in the crowd. You were marked by God for such a time as this. And now even the atmosphere recognizes you. Nature itself is responding to your identity. There's an alignment taking place that has nothing to do with position and everything to do with presence. God is placing you where you can no longer be mishandled. He is lifting you into spaces where your voice will carry weight because it was birthed in crushing. He is surrounding you with people who don't compete with your light, but guard it. Because when you walked away, you didn't just leave a situation, you walked into a covenant. This is why everything is shifting. This is why the attacks suddenly intensified and then stopped. Not because the enemy gave up, but because God shut the door. You passed the test and He sealed the gate. The protection around your life is not just for survival, it's for sacred unveiling. And that unveiling is beginning now. Get ready for moments you cannot explain. Divine appointments, sudden clarity, unexpected honor. You will stand in places your name was never supposed to reach. Not because you climbed, but because you surrendered. Not because you chased it, but because you chose Him. Let this settle in your spirit. There are people who thought they saw the best of you already. They thought your last victory was your final one. But God has only just begun. The version of you that's rising now, it's backed by heaven. It's armored in wisdom. It's anointed for battle and for breakthrough. It is sacred. It is strong. It is sealed in light. And those who thought you were gone, they will cry when they see the greatness you carry now. This isn't about revenge. This is about revelation. This is about the God who says, I will prepare a table before you in the presence of your enemies. That table isn't for spite. It's for testimony. It's the place where God says, look what I protected. Look what I preserved. Look what I raised from the ashes. So hold your head high, not in pride, but in knowing who you are, knowing who He is, knowing that every step you took away from the familiar was a step toward destiny. You didn't walk alone, you walked with God, and now He walks before you to reveal what's been hidden all along. His hand over your life, His fire around your path, His Spirit woven into your very breath. Stay here because the next part of this journey will change how you see everything. Before anyone ever knew her name, Esther was hidden. Not just hidden from kings, but hidden from danger, hidden from exposure, hidden from harm, and some of you, chosen ones, have been in that same place, a place where you felt forgotten, overlooked, invisible. But just like Esther, you weren't being ignored. You were being protected. You see, God doesn't elevate what He hasn't first preserved. He doesn't call forward what He hasn't first refined. And He never reveals what He hasn't already covered in grace. That's what you've been walking through, a divine concealment, not to diminish you, but to develop you, not to silence your voice, but to prepare your voice for a stage that requires authority. Esther's story was never just about beauty, it was about timing, about favor, about being planted in the exact right place at the exact right moment for a purpose far beyond her imagination. And that's exactly where you are right now. Heaven has placed you strategically. You didn't land here by luck. Every delay, every no, every season of stillness was God saying, wait, I'm positioning you. I'm building something they can't see. You thought it was rejection, but it was redirection. You thought it was isolation, but it was insulation. You thought it was punishment, but it was divine protection in disguise. When Esther was taken into the palace, she didn't reveal her identity right away. It wasn't time. There was a holy silence over her life, a wisdom to wait, to listen, to discern the unseen war around her. You too have felt that pull, the tension between hiding and revealing, between silence and speaking. And it's because God has been guarding your identity like treasure. The enemy wanted access, but God built a wall of fire around your life. Your covering has been quiet, but fierce. You didn't even know how many traps He saved you from, how many conversations He shut down, how many opportunities He allowed to pass by, not because you weren't ready, but because the environment wasn't worthy. And now, just as in Esther's day, the cry has risen in the spirit. A decree has gone out, and the time for hiding is coming to an end. Esther didn't choose the battle, but the battle found her. The same is true for you. You didn't ask to be placed in the middle of a spiritual war, but your calling demands it. You carry something that threatens the darkness. And so, God had to hide you, not in fear, but in strategy, until the hour came when your voice would be the key to breakthrough. And hear this, just like Esther, your voice is not ordinary. It carries divine resonance. When you speak now, chains in the spirit break. When you move, territory shifts. Your obedience is releasing waves through generations. That's why the silence was long. That's why the waiting was hard. Because God was stretching your capacity, not just for impact, but for protection under pressure. Esther stood before the king not just as a woman, but as a weapon, a vessel of deliverance. She had no armor, no sword, no army, but she had favor, she had covering, and she had the courage to risk exposure because she knew her protection wasn't in the palace. It was in the God who placed her there. That same courage is rising in you now. You've been prepared for such a time as this. And no, you're not late. You're right on time. Because heaven operates in perfect rhythm. Every detour was choreography. Every delay was rehearsal. Every battle was building muscle in the spirit. And now your spirit is being summoned forward, not to fight like everyone else, but to stand like only you can. God is revealing you in this hour not to make you famous, but to make you fruitful, to establish you in places where your words carry weight because they were birthed in silence, to place you in rooms where you don't have to announce your authority. Your spirit does it for you. This is not about platform, it's about purpose. It's not about being seen, it's about being sent. Esther didn't rise to comfort. She rose to intercede. She rose to intervene. She rose to break a cycle of destruction and usher in preservation for an entire people. And you, chosen one, are being positioned the same way. The protection over your life isn't just for you, it's for the assignment that comes with you. There are people tied to your obedience. There are destinies connected to your voice. There are atmospheres that shift simply because you walk in the room. And all of that required protection. That's why God wouldn't let you be popular. That's why He shielded you from platforms too early. That's why he kept you in obscurity long enough for your roots to grow deep. Because if he revealed you before you were ready, the weight of the calling could have crushed you. But now the roots are strong, the fire has refined you, the silence has forged you, and what's coming next will not break you. It will reveal the strength he's built in you. So don't be afraid of what's being unveiled. Don't shrink back when favor finds you. Don't apologize when doors begin to swing open without you knocking. This is the result of divine preservation. This is the reward of choosing obedience over attention, of walking away instead of clinging, of surrendering instead of striving. And just like Esther, you will rise, not because you fought for a position, but because God's hand is undeniable. The king extended the scepter to her, and heaven is extending something to you now: access, favor, visibility, but not for vanity, for victory. This is holy ground. Your protection wasn't passive, it was prophetic. And now the prophecy is unfolding. What was hidden will be honored, what was covered will be crowned, and what was silenced will speak. So breathe deep, step forward. The hour is upon you, and heaven is about to do something no enemy saw coming. This is the moment, not just another season, not just another encouraging word. This is divine culmination. Everything that has pressed you, tested you, refined you, and hidden you was for this. The hour when God does not just whisper over your life, but thunders. When his protection isn't something you wonder about, it's something you witness. Chosen one, your covering is about to speak louder than every lie that was ever spoken over you. Every rumor, every delay, every closed door, every moment you felt overlooked. Heaven is about to make it clear you were never abandoned. You were hidden for glory. You were protected not because you were fragile, but because you were holy, sacred, set apart, anointed. And now that the fire has passed and the foundation is firm, you are rising, not quietly, but with spiritual force. God is not gently nudging you forward. He is launching you. Heaven is pushing you into rooms that no man could open, into assignments that no resume could qualify you for, into moments that only divine protection could preserve you for. You are becoming the living evidence that God protects what carries his purpose. You are the proof, the walking testimony, the one who made it through without losing your soul, the one who didn't fight dirty, the one who didn't settle, the one who refused to be broken by the betrayal, the delay, the dry seasons, or the darkness. And now the crown comes, not as a trophy, but as a sign that heaven had you covered all along. The enemy thought your silence meant defeat, but it was the sound of divine strategy. The absence of noise wasn't absence of movement. It was heaven drawing back the bow, ready to release you with accuracy and power. The same people who dismissed you will now bear witness to what God had under construction the entire time. And what's coming next will be unmistakable. It won't require an announcement. You won't need to explain yourself. You won't need to prove your growth or justify your breakthrough. The presence of God over your life will be undeniable. The shift will speak for itself. So stand tall. Let the oil shine. Let the fire glow. Let the transformation be seen without shame. You are not who you used to be. That chapter is closed. That era is over. The wilderness has served its purpose. The breaking has built you, and now you're walking out of the shadows with the kind of peace that can't be shaken and the kind of power that cannot be stolen. Chosen one, this is your release. This is your revealing. This is the moment heaven had in mind before the pain, before the storm, before the silence. You were never forgotten. You were being prepared. You were never abandoned. You were being aligned. And now that the preparation is complete, your protection is becoming your promotion. No more apologizing for your discernment. No more shrinking to fit spaces you've outgrown. No more negotiating your peace just to be understood. You've been sealed by fire, covered by glory, handled by God. And what the enemy meant for evil, God has turned into strength. There are nations tied to your words, legacies tied to your obedience, miracles tied to your prayers, and every bit of pain you endured has now been transformed into divine power. You are not just surviving, you are now walking in spiritual government. Heaven is backing you, angels have been assigned to you, and the voice of the Lord is calling you forth. Arise, my chosen, it is time. Let the world watch, let the heavens roar, let hell tremble, because when a chosen one walks fully in alignment, nothing can stop what God has ordained. And you are walking into a season of supernatural protection so evident, so aggressive, so radiant that even your enemies will say, surely the hand of God is on them. So here is your final call. Walk boldly, you are not alone. Speak clearly, you carry heaven's sound. Stand firmly, you've been shielded by the Most High. No weapon formed against you will prosper. No tongue raised against you will stand. No plot will prosper because your path has been cleared by holy fire. Chosen one, your story is about to change forever. You've moved from the cave to the crown, from the shadows to the center, from the testing to the throne. And now God will reveal what He's been protecting all along. You are seen, you are sealed, you are sent. And the covering of the Lord will never leave you. Not now, not ever.